This MAGA warrior just annihilated this entire CNN host panel over this series of topics right here, and it really opens the question up in my mind of do you think the Democrats care about working class Americans? All right, let me know your thoughts down below. All right. Things definitely have turned around, and this MAGA warrior really goes in depth, breaking it all down against this Democratic strategist and Democrat host. Okay, things get pretty crazy. We're gonna break it all down. Shout out to the King Squad. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, guys. My voice isn't all the way there today, but we're still showing up. All right, let's get right into it. Let's go.
Stranger to tangling with the president, but those comments were pretty obvious in terms of intent. What do you make of them?
I mean, I agree that institutions like Harvard are certainly a beacon of what America has to offer. I'm not necessarily against having some foreign students attend the university. I'm concerned about the number of Chinese students. I don't want to educate our adversary. That's a separate conversation. However, taking $3 billion away and appropriating that money for trade, that would absolutely benefit way more Americans than the number of Americans who attend Ivy League institutions such as Harvard. And I would say the president's overall argument in general, you think about this from this perspective. Harvard lets in, I believe, 27% of its total population as foreign students, about 1 in 4. Now, if you were to decrease that, you open up potential slots for a lot of underprivileged individuals. And I'm not just talking about black kids here, Phil. I'm talking about any ethnicity, Hispanic underprivileged, white underprivileged, who would be given an opportunity to attend an institution such as Harvard because they have the intellectual faculties, but they don't let in a lot of underprivileged students. So I think there is a legitimate argument to make, can you make more room for more Americans compared to the foreign students that we've made room for?
That is a more thorough argument than I've seen the president make. And the trade school, I don't think anybody disagrees on the issue of trade schools, and trying to redirect funding towards trade schools has been something bipartisan administrations have tried to do over the course of the last decade or two. I'm just interested, Shermichael's point, how do you think that tracks with what's happening right now?
Well, he makes a good point, but it belies something that's totally incorrect. Of the large percentage of that 27% of international students who attend Harvard University at any given point, the overwhelming majority are for grad school. This is not students who are undergraduate at all. They're talking about graduate school admissions. So we're talking about those at the Harvard Kennedy School, for instance, studying government. We're talking about those largely at the School of Medicine, who are your next innovators when it comes to breakthroughs in cancer research and things like that. Those students aren't moving towards trade schools. They're not making the decision between going to a Harvard graduate school versus going to a trade school. Those are two very different tracks. We're not talking about undergraduate enrollment at all, and that's where Donald Trump gets it incorrect. The secondary thing is, I don't think anybody has a problem with expanding trade schools and ensuring that students have options. There is a pathway, and there should be a pathway, regardless of whether you choose the 4-year track, the 2-year track, or a certification track. I worked at City College of Chicago for a while. I believe heavily in trade schools, apprenticeships, and the necessary means of getting students into in-demand careers that do not require 4-year college degrees or the debt that comes along with them. But I think that those are two very different arguments to be made, because again, that 27%, we're talking about graduate students. These are students who've already received an undergraduate education. Many, for those international students, actually receive that undergrad education from schools abroad, from their home nations. In the same way that American students will go to the London School of Economics or go to the University of Cambridge or any place else. Largely, that's for graduate education and the process of, employment post-grad for them. That is not the same as undergraduate students, which Harvard still has a high percentage of American students who attend their undergraduate university.
Now, I love Amisha, and Amisha and I, Phil, have had these conversations for years and years and years about education, because this is something that she specializes in. She loves it. She has a huge passion in it. The dichotomy here, though, I think, Amisha, is fascinating. Donald Trump has shifted the argument, having Democrats essentially have to defend elitism, while Republicans appear, at least for the general public, to be saying we're on the side of the working class person, the average individual, the guy who goes and works 60, 70, 80 hours a week in overtime to hopefully be able to make enough to put his kid through college when they turn 18 years old. That's fascinating. In the past, it was Democrats saying we want to get more education towards everyday people. Now it's Republicans and Democrats saying, wait a minute here, we want to protect the 27% that are going to Harvard.
Republicans are saying it, but they're not doing it, because college affordability is a massive topic of interest in America. And right now, college is unaffordable and has been for the better half of the past 2.5 decades. With that being said, from the big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump just got across the House, the percentage of Americans who rely on the Pell Grant would no longer be able to have access to it because of the new requirements that the House Republicans have placed in those, the same requirements that Donald Trump championed just last week. So if we're talking about college affordability, making sure that students have access who are from low-income backgrounds, who are from rural areas across America, who deserve the right to be able to attend an institution of their choice, be it whether that is a community college or a four-year university, Republicans are chopping them off at the knees when it comes to the opportunity.
I'm just gonna say right there, what are your thoughts on that right there? Down, let me know down below in the comments. I always look forward to seeing what you guys have to say on the topic of the college thing right there. Me personally, I think that we should stop. I think college is necessary, but they don't really highlight the trade school side of things too much. Like, I would definitely love to see more money being invested into trade school, because with trades, it strikes me as we're always going to need plumbers, we're always going to need electricians, we're always going to need mechanics, we're always going to need guys that work on trucks and stuff like that. And I believe like construction is like trade. Okay, I'm not all the way super well versed with all of that entirely. Okay, like what I'm thinking skills, okay, skill sets. So, and that stuff is always going to be, in demand, okay? Like that strikes me as like recession-proof kind of work, all right? Like that's the work that will always be needed. I mean, I could be entirely wrong. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I could be wrong, but I think that definitely a lot more money should be, put in trades, because what I went through and what a lot of people go through is like, you'll be in school and then they just keep pushing you and shoving you into college, and you're confused with your life. You don't know where you're going in life. You don't have not everybody has the greatest direction and the greatest guidance. And then they just jump into college, rack up an insane amount of debt, and then they live X amount of years trying to figure out their life. And then they don't even get the job that that they went to college for. I know so many people that went to college, and like somebody who say they went for like to be a piano teacher, and then they do photography. Like, what the heck? Like, what just happened? And so, a lot of people that, at least from what I've seen, is they just jump into college. They don't know what they're doing, rack up insane amounts of debt. They party and it's like they drink all the drink, they eat all the food, and then they come out lost and confused with life. And it's like, sack of potatoes. And so it's like, they don't know what they're doing. Whereas, people with trades, they go into the trade, they don't come out with, I haven't seen anybody come out from trade school with any insane amount of debt. Okay. I come out and I seen them come out and get great jobs. All right. And then get these benefits, possible union work. Okay. Communities, groups and everything like that, and job opportunities fresh out of school, and even the ability to start your own business with the skill sets you acquired from learning a trade. So that's something that, I've always been more like, I definitely think a lot more, energy and money should be invested into trades. But let me know what you guys think, okay? I always look forward to seeing what you guys have to say down below in the comments. All right, let's get back into the video.
I would agree with you about focusing on Pell Grants. We certainly want to make sure accessibility and affordability is there. I would argue, though, that the problem with cost isn't necessarily relegated to grants from the government. You know this better than I do. You've educated me on this. I think we need to completely restructure how colleges constantly raise tuition every 4 years, ballooning it to a way where the average person can't afford it in general. That's a bipartisan issue.
We give them billions. And then it's a matter of going into college, and then you don't know what you're doing. Like, you go in for like an art degree or something. Like, you go in to learn sign language, okay? And I'm not knocking art or sign language, but I just don't know how you're going to be able to afford a house and afford a family of 4 or 5 or 6 or however many kids you want, or even just afford yourself, okay, off an art degree or sign language. You get the gist of what I'm saying. That's really how it strikes me. Like, I think college is totally worth it. If you're going to be like a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher. Granted, the education system is all types of messed up, but that's another conversation. Okay, but like a teacher, lawyer, doctor, engineer, or something like that. Definitely, college is necessary. But you have people going to college for like degrees that they just don't use. And that was something that really freaked me out. And I'm not knocking people that did that. I'm just saying that, we can reduce the amount of people that we push in that direction. All right. Now, is that going to happen? I think not. Excuse me. I definitely don't think that'll happen. I think that, people profit on other people's misunderstanding. People profit on other people's ignorance. Okay. It's kind of like, that whole ignorance of the law kind of thing. And then you can kind of like apply that to like people not understanding college and just going for the hype of it. It's kind of like an ignorance of, I don't know, an ignorance of money or something. How would you describe that? Like an ignorance of school, or what would that be called? Okay. Let me know down below. But yeah, on the whole topic of like college and everything like that, I think college is definitely worth it if you're going for something that actually matters. And we definitely need, doctors and teachers and engineers, especially with people, you don't know who's the doctor anymore these days. You got people graduating college via Chat GPT. Okay, so that is like yikes. that is absolutely wild. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing what you guys have to say about that whole thing. Okay. So I really want to play this clip here to really just highlight what they were talking about in this conversation and get your thoughts on it. I always look forward to seeing what the King Squad has to say. Okay. By the way, it's great to see you guys. Hope you guys are having a great and awesome day. All right. I also want to point out that, if you hear me like, fixing my voice or clearing my throat a lot, okay, my voice hasn't been the greatest lately. I actually got like sick from my daughter and stuff like that. So there's that. But that's like parenting. Your kid gets sick hanging around other kids and then you get sick. That's usually how it goes. So there's that. But I'm working through it. Okay. Yeah, I apologize for the lack of content I've put out. I haven't put out as many videos as I ever, as I would like to. So, I definitely wanted to just be transparent about that with you guys. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Okay. And, yeah, I want to say shout out to all of our veterans as well. Okay. Thank you to all of our veterans who served. All right. That's another thing I wanted to highlight. I wanted to go live and, thank all of our veterans and everything like that, but I got tied up with family and stuff. But, yeah, other than that, a lot of content coming soon. And would you guys like to see 4 uploads a day or 6? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm going to experiment with both, but I let me know what you guys prefer. And that's that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.